we will now discuss the basic function of the Stratify command, as well as the Stratify command using a break for things. In our case, we'll do it on the enterer of the invoice. So we're going to break the stratification and do a separate stratification for each enterer of invoices. But you could do it on almost anything, department, even vendor, but you got to be a little careful. And this is where if you create a break file where you create all these stratifications, you should do it to a table. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But first, let's just do the Stratify and Stratify using a break, which is a good first step. In completing a Stratify command, the first thing I would ever do is run a statistics on the field that I plan on doing my Stratify on. So we're going to do a Stratify on the invoice amount field, and I'm going to first run a statistics on it before I run the Stratify, and I'll show you why. So we'll hit OK. Now this gives you a high and low value, and what's kind of interesting behind the scenes for those who care, you can go to Edit Variables, and you can get a lot of these, almost every one of these had come from this statistics command, and you can take a look at all these high, low, max 1, etc. Okay, now that I have that data, if I go to Analyze Stratify and I select the invoice amount field, the minimum and maximum immediately come up in this data set. So I have that completely set, and that'll show up in the resulting report. And now going into the free category here, I don't like so much going with intervals of 10. It doesn't really give you a good a cut of the data. I do want to make sure that I'm stratifying on as well as accumulating what I care about. I mean, I could accumulate the discount field and the invoice amount field, but I'm just going to take a look at this invoice amount field. And in the free category, you need to go upwards. I mean, even if you're in a negative situation, you could have a negative 100 in addition to a negative 80, and after that negative 60, etc., 0, and then going upwards from there, and it always has to climb. Now, what I've done is I've actually saved a file that has all of the strata that we may want, and we'll just run a couple of them here. We called it Ways to Stratify, and this will be in the files that come with this. And if now I go back to that Stratify command, just real quickly here, and go on the invoice amount field, accumulate invoice amount, in the free, I can now just paste that information that I copied from that other file. Now I can do it 0, 100, 500, 1000. Let's take a look at that, and again that will give you the stratification. In addition to, let's take a different approach here and just do powers of 2, and just increasing 2s. Again, very interesting way. The 2s go up very quickly, as everyone knows. And again, I can go back and edit this command. And in the free category, I can now put in my powers of 2 by copying and pasting that in. Real easy, you don't have to enter it all the time. And then that gives you another kind of view of the data. Now the Stratify comes with a graph, so you can actually graph it by just clicking down below here, text or graph. And this does provide you a graph that may be easier for you to see. A lot of people enjoy the pictures more than the actual text. Table, which is here, and similar to the classify age command, the percent of count points to the count, the percent of field points to the invoice amount. Now that the basic Stratify command is understood, I want to show how to stratify but using a break command, and the break is here. So let's just do this the quick way. We'll go back, command line, click there. We'll edit the dialog box to bring this back, and in the More button, I'm going to select a break and put the enterer's initials. And by doing that, I'll click OK. And I'm going to get an interesting result. It's kind of odd. It starts with JL, goes to FS, so there's a break now, and each time we get a different enter initial, we get a different stratification. Again, back to JL, JC, back to JL. Sounds kind of crazy. What's basically happening is there's one record for each of these people, and it's unsorted data. Now what you need to do is actually take the paid invoice file and sort that file, in this case on enter initial, and we're going to do this to a new file called sorted. Now that we have this field sorted on enter initial, we're in a much better position to run this Stratify Break command. Whoops, let's go back to the log. Easy way to do it. This one here. And we'll just go back to this edit command log. This will work. We'll click on the more button, break, enter initial again. Now though we are on the sorted file, so it is sorted on enter initial, so the break is going to hold a lot better. And this is the result you get. You get a nice little breakdown of each person and where they are actually hitting from a dollars point of view for each one of the items that they're entering into the system. Just kind of quickly taking a look, you can see FS has a lot of $0 to $99. JC kind of has a good splattering of info, but starting to get into the upper realms there, from a dollars point of view. Then JL has quite a bit, 10,000 to 100,000 especially, and KW even having more, etc. So, and then this one person just having a negative item. So it's something, gaining that perspective of looking at the stratification by a different perspective, who, in this case, is entering the invoice, can give you a much different perspective of what invoices to take a look at. Now, when you want to do that research and select an item, let's just say this 5,000 in negative, you can select this right here, brings you right to your filtered items, and you can take a look at all of the items here that are less than 0 in this case. And well, in this case we also want them where the enter is NP, and hence, so when we go to that, because it's sorted, they're right there, but I can filter even further and get to those items that in just this case $5,104. Just to make sure, we can go over to the invoice amount field and go analyze total, $5,104.